Your immediate reaction when you saw the injury?
I'm one of those squeamish. Every time you guys show it, I'm looking away. In 20-something years of covering the NBA, I've never seen a worse injury with my own eyes. I'm sure there probably has been something that I just don't remember, but watching that live, that was really Theismann-esque in its horrificness. And Mark Jones, who's still in the arena, just tweeted, if you want to know how bad this injury is, Kyrie Irving is in the arena right now, basically crying on his dad's shoulder. I mean, the whole team is shaken up by this beyond words right now.
You're never prepared for anything like this, but this was supposed to be a fun exhibition, players competing for a spot on this team, but this was a showcase of the Team USA stars as they prepare for this summer's FIBA World Cup. I want to be sensitive here to Paul George, and we'll talk about him in just a minute, but let's get this out of the way, Mark. For Team USA right now, what does this injury mean?
Well, Paul George was supposed to start for this team, and losing him would certainly be a loss that will hurt them to some degree. But, honestly, the only real on-court concern for this team is size, and that's really only if they're playing Spain or Brazil, teams with a massive front line. It's really the emotional aspect. This is such a devastating thing emotionally for this whole group. I mean, you heard Jerry Colangelo and Coach K up there at the press conference. I mean, they're all going to need days, plural, to process this. And, a lot of questions are going to be raised. The reality is this could have happened anywhere. Injuries can happen in any sort of basketball setting or even non-basketball setting. But the big story of the week was Derrick Rose's comeback and how good he's looked. And, it's the first time we've seen Rose basically play in 2 years. And just like that, I mean, this is going to shake up. It's already shaken up these guys to a degree. I mean, you just don't expect an injury of this severity in an inter-squad scrimmage.
Mark, I spoke on SportsCenter 2 nights ago with Jerry Colangelo, and the Kevin Love situation was brought up, Love declining to play, and Jerry Colangelo said he was nearly in tears when he called him up. He wanted to be a part of this team so badly. Colangelo said he understood the situation because Love is being talked about in a potential blockbuster trade, potentially to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Colangelo said, I get it. We're talking about a guy who's going to be traded and get a max deal, and we're talking about $100 million plus. I understand that he can't be a part of this team. My initial reaction to the George injury was, oh, my God, what is his contract status? What is his contract status?
Well, Paul George next season will be starting a 5-year max extension in excess of $90 million. So he has long-term security that Kevin Love doesn't have. Obviously at this second, that's not going to be much comfort to Paul George, who, he's just moving into the prime of his career, and that sure looks like a serious injury that's not going to be easy to just bounce right back from. But for the Indiana Pacers, I mean, this is just a devastating hit. Now, insurance can cover the contract from the Pacers end. They can apply for a disabled player exception to try to sign someone else next season if Paul George indeed is out for a long-term period. But obviously, you're not going to be able to go out and get someone who can approach what Paul George is supposed to do. He's their franchise player. He's their best player. So he does have long-term security. But for the Indiana Pacers, I mean, this is a crushing blow.
Mark, anyone who covers or follows the NBA knows how good a player Paul George is. But could you put into perspective for us where you see Paul George among the elite players in the NBA right now?
Well, for the first half of the season, he was being talked about as an MVP candidate. Now, obviously, Indiana's season unraveled. The second half was, a second half to forget. They were able to steady themselves to the point that they got in the Eastern Conference Finals. But for the first half of the year, when George was at his best, I mean, he was being talked about as an outside contender for the MVP race. And Indiana saw enough to bestow on him this 5-year, $90+ million deal. He is one of the top 10, 15 players in the league when he's at his best. So again, there are protections for Indiana in terms of insurance and being able to try to bring someone else in. But, I mean, this guy is their franchise player. When Indiana's season was going in the wrong direction, the one thing you consistently heard was if there is one untouchable going forward in Indiana, it's Paul George.